The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was the largest room Grace Miller had ever seen. It stretched upward for what seemed like miles. Floating platforms held representatives from 12 different alien species. Strange lights danced in patterns she could not understand. The air smelled like flowers and electricity mixed together. Grace stood at the center of it all. She wore her best diplomatic uniform. Behind her stood Admiral Thomas Reed and General Samuel Brooks. They had traveled 80 months through deep space to reach this moment. Humanity was about to join the galactic community. High Counselor Varys floated down from the highest platform. He was tall and thin, with skin like glass. Grace could see blue light pulsing through his body like blood through veins. When he spoke, his voice echoed through the chamber. "Humans of Earth," Varys said, "for 300 years, we have watched your world. We have seen you grow from simple creatures to space travelers. Today, we welcome you as the 13th member of the Galactic Council." Grace bowed her head in respect. "We are honored, High Counselor. Humanity has dreamed of this day for generations." The other aliens made sounds of approval. Some clapped with multiple hands. Others made clicking noises. A few simply glowed brighter. Varys continued. "As a member, species, you are now protected under the Galactic Accord. No member may wage war upon another. Disputes are settled through negotiation and ritual combat. Death is rare. Destruction is forbidden." Grace smiled and nodded. She understood what Varys was saying. These aliens had created a civilized system of war. When two species disagreed, they would send their best warriors to fight in controlled battles. The loser would accept the winner's terms. Cities were never bombed. Populations were never harmed. War was more like a sport than actual conflict. Admiral Reed shifted his weight behind her. Grace knew what he was thinking. They had studied the Council's history for years. These species had forgotten what real war looked like. They had never faced extinction. They had never felt true desperation. Humans had. After the ceremony, Grace met privately with Varys. They sat in a small room with walls that changed color based on their emotions. Right now, the walls were a calm blue. "Your species is young," Varys said, "but you have great potential. I sense strength in your people." "Thank you," Grace replied. "We have worked hard to reach the stars." "There is something I must warn you about," Varys said. His voice became serious. "Not all species in the galaxy are members of our council. Some refuse to join. Some are too violent. One such species is the Drovic hegemony." Grace leaned forward. "Tell me about them." "The Drovic are warriors. They believe in conquest and domination. They have attacked council members before, but they always stop when we show unified strength." Varys paused. "They may test you. New species are often targeted." "What kind of test?" "Small raids. Border incidents. They want to see how you respond. My advice is to be patient. Show restraint. Eventually, they will lose interest." Grace thanked him for the warning. But inside, she felt a cold knot forming in her stomach. 6 months passed. Humanity established trade routes with 3 council species. Human technology began to spread. Alien medicine cured diseases that had plagued Earth for centuries. It seemed like a golden age was beginning. Then the Drovic came. The colony on Kepler 442b was small. Only 15,000 people lived there. Most were farmers and miners. They had no military base, no warships. They were simple people trying to build a new life. The Drovic fleet appeared without warning. 20 warships dropped out of hyperspace and surrounded the planet. They sent no demands. They made no threats. They simply began to attack. Grace watched the video feed from the council chamber. Her hand shook as she saw buildings explode. She heard screams as families ran through burning streets. The Drovic ground troops moved through the colony like a wave of death. They killed everyone they found. Men, women, children, it did not matter. But the worst part was what they did next. The Drovic commander, a massive creature covered in black armor, stood in the ruins of the colony's main square. Bodies lay around him. Smoke rose into the sky. He looked directly into the camera and smiled. "Humans," he said. "This is what happens to weak species. We are the Drovic. We do not negotiate. We do not surrender. We take what we want." He reached down and lifted a small body. A child. A little girl with brown hair and a torn dress. "Your council cannot protect you," the commander continued. "Your ships are weak. Your soldiers are soft. Come and fight us if you dare. We will do to your Earth what we did to this world." He dropped the child and crushed her with his foot. The video ended. Grace sat in silence. Tears ran down her face. Around her, the council members whispered in shock and sadness. "This is terrible," Councillor Desha said. "We offer our deepest condolences." "We will send a diplomatic mission," another councillor suggested. "Perhaps we can negotiate a peace." "The Drovic will demand territory," someone else said. "You may have to give up some outer colonies." Grace did not respond. She stood up slowly. Her tears had stopped. Her face was now completely blank. Admiral Reed stepped forward. "Ambassador Miller, what are your orders?" Grace looked at him. Something had changed in her eyes. The warmth was gone. Only cold remained. "Contact Strategic Command," she said. "Tell them to activate Protocol Omega." Reed nodded. He did not ask questions. He did not hesitate. He simply turned and left the chamber. General Brooks remained. "And what do we tell the council?" Grace looked at the confused alien faces around her. They did not understand what was happening. They thought humans would negotiate. They thought humans would accept some losses and move on. They were wrong. "Tell them nothing," Grace said. "They will see soon enough." She walked out of the chamber without looking back. The council members called after her, asking questions, offering help. She ignored them all. 3,000 humans were dead. 3,000 of her people had been murdered and broadcast across the galaxy as entertainment. The Drovic wanted war. They had no idea what they had started. In the following days, human communications went dark. Ships returned to home space. Ambassadors stopped attending meetings. When council members tried to contact Earth, they received only one message, repeated over and over. "Humanity thanks the council for their concern. We will handle this matter ourselves." And then silence. The galaxy held its breath and waited to see what the young species would do. None of them were ready for the answer. Deep in the heart of human space, something was awakening. It had slept for decades, waiting. Now it was hungry. Lieutenant Commander Rachel Torres stood on the observation deck of the UNS Retribution. She was 32 years old, with short black hair and tired eyes. She had served in the Navy for 10 years, mostly on patrol ships guarding quiet borders. She had never seen real combat. That was about to change. Captain David Park walked up beside her. He was older, maybe 50, with gray hair and a face full of scars from wars fought long before Rachel was born. He had been there during the Mars Rebellion. He had survived the Belt Wars. He knew what human conflict looked like. "Beautiful, isn't it?" David said, looking out the window. Rachel followed his gaze. Below them, the shipyard stretched for hundreds of miles. Massive construction platforms floated in the void. Robotic arms worked without rest. Sparks flew in every direction. They were building warships. Hundreds of them. "I've never seen anything like this," Rachel said. "Where did all of this come from?" David smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "It was always here, Lieutenant. Waiting. Sleeping. The council thinks we're a young species. They don't know that we've been preparing for this moment for 200 years. Preparing for what? For the day someone made us remember what we truly are. Rachel shivered. She had read the history books. She knew about the old wars, the world wars, the nuclear standoffs, the genetic conflicts. Humanity had nearly destroyed itself a dozen times. But they had survived. They had learned, and they had never forgotten. Across human space, the war machine was waking up. Factories that had been making consumer goods suddenly switched to weapons production. Mines that had been pulling out building materials started extracting rare metals for armor plating. Schools canceled classes. Young men and women lined up at recruitment centers. There was no celebration, no patriotic speeches, just a cold, quiet determination that spread through every human world like frost on glass. The Drovik had killed 3,000 people. They had broadcast the deaths like entertainment. They had crushed a child under their feet and laughed. Every human who saw that video felt something ancient stir inside them. Something that had been buried under centuries of civilization and progress. Something that remembered what it meant to be prey and what it meant to become the predator. Meanwhile, the Galactic Council grew worried. High Counselor Varus called meeting after meeting. He sent messages to Earth. He dispatched diplomatic ships to human colonies. Every time, he received the same response: silence. "I don't understand," Counselor Desha said. "Why won't they talk to us? We want to help." Varus shook his head. He had been studying human history. What he found disturbed him greatly. "Did you know," he said slowly, "that humans used to have hundreds of different species on their world? Large predators, dangerous creatures, rivals for food and territory. So, many worlds have diverse life. Yes, but on Earth, they're all gone now. The humans killed them. Every single one. Any species that threatened humanity was hunted to extinction." Varus paused. "They did the same to each other. There used to be other types of humans. Neanderthals, Denisovans, others. All gone." Desha was confused. "What does this have to do with the Drovik?" "Everything." Varus pulled up a holographic display. It showed human history, wars, genocides, nuclear weapons, biological warfare. When humans fight each other, they hold back. They have rules, treaties. They try to minimize destruction because they know they'll have to live together afterward. That sounds reasonable. It is. It is. But the Drovik aren't human. They're outsiders, aliens, and human history shows us something terrible about how they treat outsiders who threaten them." Varus's voice dropped to a whisper. "They don't defeat them. They erase them." Desha felt a chill run through her body. Surely they've evolved past such behavior. Varus did not answer. He was staring at the display, watching images of mushroom clouds and burning cities flash by. On Earth, President Michael Anderson addressed the United Nations. His speech was not broadcast to the galaxy. It was for humans only. 3,000 of our brothers and sisters are dead," he said. "The Drovik think we are weak. They think we will negotiate. They think we will give up our colonies and accept their dominance." He paused and looked directly into the camera. "They are wrong." The assembly was silent. "I am authorizing a total response action against the Drovik hegemony. All military assets are now under strategic command authority. All civilian production is redirected to the war effort. This is not a declaration of war." He leaned forward. "This is a declaration of extinction." The words echoed through every human world. There was no debate, no protest. No one asked if this was the right thing to do. The Drovik had shown what they would do to human children. That was enough. 3 months passed. The Drovik grew confident. They had expected human attacks by now. Raids, small fleet actions. The usual pattern of warfare they had seen from other species. When nothing came, They believed the humans were too afraid to fight. Overlord Tarkus, commander of the Drovic military, laughed at his staff meetings. "The humans are cowards," he said. "They hide in their space and tremble. When we are ready, we will take their worlds one by one. They will beg for mercy." His officers cheered. They did not know that human scout ships had mapped every Drovic world. They did not know that human intelligence had identified every military base, every factory, every power plant. They did not know that human computers had calculated exactly how many ships were needed, how many weapons, how many soldiers. They did not know that humanity was not preparing to fight. They were preparing to end on the bridge of the UN's retribution. Captain David Park received the final orders. He read them twice to make sure he understood. "All hands, this is the captain," he said over the ship's communication system. "We have received our orders from Strategic Command. In 24 hours, we will jump to Drovic space." Rachel Torres felt her heart beating fast. This was it. This was really happening. "Our mission is simple," David continued. "Total elimination of all Drovic military capability. Total destruction of all Drovic industrial capacity. Total neutralization of all Drovic threat potential." He paused. "There will be no negotiations. No prisoners. No mercy. The Drovic wanted to see what humans are capable of. We are going to show them." The ship was silent for a moment. Then, from somewhere deep in the vessel, someone started clapping. The sound spread. Soon, every human on board was applauding. Not with joy, not with excitement, but with grim determination. They knew what they were about to do. They knew it would haunt them forever. But they also knew that the Drovic had made this necessary. They had killed innocent people. They had murdered children. They had declared their intention to do the same to Earth. There was only one response to such a threat: complete and total removal. As the fleet prepared to jump, Rachel Torres looked out at the stars one last time. Somewhere out there, the Drovic were sleeping peacefully, confident in their strength. They had no idea that death was coming for them, and it would not stop until every last one of them was gone. The first sign that something was wrong came at exactly midnight on the Drovic homeworld. A young astronomer named Crix was watching the sky through his telescope. It was a quiet night. The stars were bright. Everything seemed peaceful. Then he saw the lights dot hundreds of them, tiny points of fire falling from the heavens. At first, he thought they were shooting stars. Then he realized they were getting bigger, closer, faster. Crix tried to send a warning, but his communications were dead. Everything electronic had stopped working. He looked up one last time and saw the darkness above him, filled with falling death. The first kinetic impactors hit the capital city at 3 times the speed of sound. They were simple weapons, just heavy metal rods dropped from orbit. No explosives, no radiation, just pure kinetic energy. The city of 12 million simply ceased to exist. Commander Nathan Cole watched from the bridge of the UNS Judgment. His face showed no emotion as he observed the destruction below. Around him, his crew worked in silence. There were no cheers, no celebrations. This was not victory. This was extermination. "First wave complete," reported Tactical Officer Emma Wright. "Capital City eliminated. Moving the secondary targets." "Continue," Nathan said. "Follow the schedule." The human fleet had arrived in Drovic space exactly as planned. 60 warships against their 400. The Drovic had laughed when they saw the numbers. They thought it would be an easy battle. But humans did not come to fight. They came to destroy. The human ships ignored the Drovic fleet entirely. They flew past the warships like they did not exist. They went straight for the planets, the colonies, the civilian centers, Overlord Tarkus screamed orders at his commanders. Stop them! Shoot them down! But the human ships were too fast. They had planned every move perfectly. They knew exactly where every Drovic defense was located. They knew exactly where every Drovic ship was positioned. And they knew exactly where every Drovic civilian lived. On the planet Drovic Prime, the bombardment continued for 6 hours. Every major city was hit. Every military base was destroyed. Every factory was turned to rubble. The humans used no nuclear weapons. They did not need them. Simple kinetic strikes were enough to shatter everything. When the bombardment ended, special pods fell from the human ships. They contained biological agents designed to poison water supplies. Not immediately deadly, just enough to make the water undrinkable. Without clean water, the survivors would die slowly over the following weeks. Thought it was efficient. It was methodical. It was horrifying. Lieutenant Rachel Torres watched from her station aboard the UNS Retribution. Her hands were shaking. She had trained for combat. She had prepared for battle. But this was not battle. This was slaughter. Commander, she said, her voice barely a whisper. The civilian casualties. Captain David Park stood beside her. His face was hard. I know. There are children down there. Families. People who never fought anyone. I know. How can we do this? David was silent for a long moment. Then he pulled up an image on his screen. It was the video from Kepler 442b, the Drovic commander crushing a human child under his foot. They did it first, David said. They showed us what they would do to our children, our families, our people. We gave them the chance to be civilized. They chose to be monsters. He looked at Rachel with eyes that held deep pain. Now, we have to be worse. Rachel wanted to argue. She wanted to say there had to be another way. But she remembered the screams from the colony. She remembered the bodies in the streets. She remembered the Drovic commander's smile. She said nothing. The campaign continued. Colony after colony fell. The human fleet moved through Drovic space like a plague. They did not stop to claim territory. They did not pause to accept surrenders. They simply destroyed everything they found. On the fourth world, the Drovic finally caught up with the human fleet. 400 warships against 60. The numbers were overwhelming. Victory should have been certain. It was not. Colonel James Henderson commanded the carrier group. His pilots were the best humanity had ever produced. They had trained for years. They had studied every weakness of Drovic ships. They knew exactly how to kill them. All fighters launched, his communications officer reported. Enemy fleet engaging. James watched the battle unfold on his tactical display. The Drovic fought the way they always fought. Bold charges. Individual glory. Ships breaking formation to claim kills. The humans fought differently. Every human ship moved as one. Perfect coordination. Perfect timing. When a Drovic ship attacked, it was met by 3 human ships. When Drovic fighters chased a human pilot, they flew into carefully planned kill zones. The humans did not fight for glory or honor. They fought like machines, cold, efficient, deadly. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it ended, not a single Drovic ship remained. The debris field stretched for thousands of miles. Inside those broken hulls, bodies floated in the void. Warriors who had expected an honorable fight. They found only death. James Henderson looked at the destruction. He felt no satisfaction, only emptiness. Search and destroy protocol, he ordered. No survivors? His pilots swept through the debris. Any escape pod they found was destroyed. Any signal of life was silenced. The Drovic had shown no mercy yet. Kepler 442b. They would receive none in return. News of the battle spread through the galaxy. Other species watched in horror as the human fleet continued its advance. 17 Drovic worlds, one after another, destroyed without negotiation, eliminated without pause. On the council station, High Counselor Varys received reports every hour. Each one was worse than the last. They've destroyed the 5th colony, an aide reported. Survivors? None reported. Varys closed his eyes. He had warned the Drovic years ago. He had told them that attacking new species was dangerous. But they had not listened. They had thought the humans would be easy prey. Now the prey had become the predator, and it would not stop. On the surface of Drovic Prime, Overlord Tarkus hid in an underground bunker. The sky above was black with smoke. The ground shook with distant explosions. His communications were dead. His fleet was destroyed. His empire was burning. He had never known fear before. Now he understood it completely. Through a broken window, he watched human drop pods falling from the sky. Not many, just enough to hunt down survivors, to finish what the bombardment had started. Tarkus thought about running, but there was nowhere to go. The humans had destroyed every ship, every transport, every hope of escape. He heard footsteps approaching. Human soldiers in black armor moved through the rubble. They did not shout commands. They did not demand surrender. They simply killed everything that moved. Tarkus pulled out his weapon. He would die fighting. At least that much honor remained. The door to his bunker exploded inward. A human soldier stood in the smoke. Female, young. Her face was hidden behind a helmet. In her hands was a weapon Tarkus did not recognize. Why? Tarkus asked. Why all this death? We could have negotiated. The soldier tilted her head. When she spoke, her voice was flat, empty. You killed our children, she said. You laughed while you did it. You promised to do the same to our homeworld. That was war. You must understand war. The soldier raised her weapon. We do. That's the problem. She fired. Overlord Tarkus, conqueror of 12 worlds, commander of the Drovic military, died in a dirty bunker. Alone and forgotten dot above him, the human fleet prepared to move to the next world. There were still 12 more colonies to destroy. The schedule would be maintained. The mission would be completed. 8 weeks after it began, the extermination would be finished, and the galaxy would never forget what they witnessed. The council chamber had never been so quiet. Representatives from 12 species sat in their floating platforms, staring at the holographic display in the center of the room. No one moved. No one spoke. Some had forgotten to breathe. The display showed Drovic Prime from orbit, or what remained of it. The planet looked sick. Great black scars covered the surface where cities once stood. Smoke clouds drifted across continents. Rivers that had once been blue were now gray with ash. Even from space, the death was visible. High Counselor Varys stood at the center, his translucent body flickering with pale light. He had not slept in weeks. Every day brought new reports, new images, new horrors. The latest count, he said, his voice barely a whisper, is 2.1 billion dead. The number hung in the air like a curse. 2.1 billion, Counselor Desha repeated. Her species was known for their compassion. Tears like liquid silver ran down her face. In 8 weeks, the humans have destroyed all 17 Drovic worlds, Varys continued. They did not conquer. They did not occupy. They simply, he could not find the right word. Erased, someone said. They erased an entire civilization. Ambassador Grace Miller entered the chamber. She walked slowly, her footsteps echoing in the silence. Behind her came Admiral Thomas Reed and General Samuel Brooks. Their faces showed nothing. No guilt, no pride, no regret. Just emptiness. Grace stopped in the center of the room. She looked up at the display showing Drovik Prime. For a moment, something flickered in her eyes. Pain, perhaps. Or memory. Then it was gone. "You asked to see me, High Counselor," she said. Varys floated down to her level. He had always found humans fascinating. Small creatures with short lives. So fragile. So temporary. Now he looked at Grace and felt something he had never felt toward any species in his 1,000 years of life. Fear. "What have you done?" he asked. "We responded to an attack on our people." Responded? Counselor Mira shouted from his platform. His species communicated through color changes. Right now, he was burning red with anger. "You wiped out an entire species. Every world. Every colony. Every man, woman, and child." Grace turned to face him. "The Drovik killed 3,000 of our people. They broadcast it as entertainment. They promised to do the same to Earth." Her voice was calm. Controlled. "We made sure they could never keep that promise. There are rules." Mira continued. "Conventions. Laws of warfare. You cannot simply exterminate a species because they attacked you." "We can," General Brooks said. He stepped forward, his metal shining in the strange light of the chamber. "And we did." The council erupted. Dozens of voices spoke at once. Accusations flew. Demands were made. Some called for humanity to be expelled from the council. Others called for sanctions. A few even suggested military action against Earth. Through it all, Grace remained still. When the noise finally died down, High Counselor Varys spoke again. "Ambassador Miller, please help us understand. Your species seems so peaceful. You joined our council. You traded with us. You shared technology and culture. How could you do this?" Grace was quiet for a long moment. Then she began to speak. "Let me tell you about human history, Counselor. Not the version we share with outsiders. The real history." She pulled up a holographic display of Earth. "We evolved on a dangerous world. We were not the strongest species. Not the fastest. Not the biggest. For millions of years, we were prey. Every day was a struggle to survive. We learned to fear the dark because death waited there." The display showed early humans huddled in caves while predators prowled outside. Then something changed. We learned to use tools, weapons, fire. We learned to work together. And we learned something important. Grace paused. We learned that the best way to stop being prey was to eliminate the predators. The display showed humans hunting, killing, driving other species to extinction. We killed everything that threatened us. Every predator, every rival, every species that competed for our food or our territory. We did not defeat them. We did not make peace with them. We removed them from existence. The council watched in silence. When we turned on each other, we were even worse. Wars that killed millions. Weapons that could destroy cities in seconds. We came within minutes of ending our own species multiple times. Grace's voice grew heavy. We learned, eventually, to hold back. To show mercy to other humans. Because we knew we had to live together afterward. She looked directly at Varys. But the Drovik were not human. They were an outside threat. And we have never learned to show mercy to outside threats. Admiral Reed stepped forward. Your species evolved with rules. Ritualized warfare. Limited casualties. You never faced extinction. You never learned what it means to fight for survival. He gestured at the ruined planet on the display. We did. And when survival is at stake, we do not fight to win. We fight to ensure the threat can never return. The chamber was silent. Counselor Thisha finally spoke. But the children, the civilians, the innocent. Grace closed her eyes. For just a moment, her mask cracked. Pain showed through. Every Drovik factory worker made weapons that would be used against us. Every Drovik farmer grew food that fed soldiers. Every Drovik child would have grown up to hate us, to want revenge. She opened her eyes. We learned long ago that half measures only lead to more war, more death, more suffering. It is better to end it completely. That is monstrous, Desha whispered. Yes, Grace agreed. It is, but it is also effective. The Drovik will never threaten anyone again. They will never kill another child. They will never raid another colony. The problem has been solved, permanently. High Counselor Varys felt old, older than his 1,000 years. He had seen much in his life. Wars and peace, birth and death, empires rising and falling. But he had never seen anything like this. What happens now? He asked. Grace smiled. It was a sad smile, a tired smile. Now, nothing. Humanity does not want war. We do not seek conquest. We simply want to live in peace, trade, explore, grow. She looked around the chamber. But let this be a lesson to the galaxy. Do not threaten our people. Do not harm our families. Do not attack our worlds. She turned to leave, then stopped. The Drovik thought we were weak because we did not immediately strike back. They thought our silence meant fear. She looked back over her shoulder. They were wrong. Our silence meant we were planning, preparing, making sure that when we did respond, it would only need to happen once. Admiral Reed and General Brooks followed her toward the exit. At the door, Grace paused one final time. You asked what humans are capable of, Counselor. Now you know. We are capable of anything. Anything at all. We hope we never have to prove it again. She walked out, leaving the council in shocked silence. For a long time, no one spoke. The display still showed Drovik Prime. The dead world rotated slowly, its surface scarred and lifeless. Finally, Counselor Mira spoke. His colors had faded to a pale gray. What do we do now? Varys shook his head. We do nothing. We can do nothing. They are too powerful, too determined, too. He searched for the word. Too human. We should warn others. Other species. Other civilizations. Yes. Varys nodded slowly. We should tell them the truth. Tell them what happened here. Tell them what humans did. He looked at the ruined planet one last time. And tell them to never ever make the same mistake the Drovik made. The warning would spread across the galaxy. Every species would hear the story. Every civilization would learn the lesson. Humanity did not fight wars. They ended them. Forever. 1 year had passed since the Drovik extermination. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Captain Sarah Bell sat in the command chair of the UN's Guardian, a patrol ship assigned to the outer borders of human space. She was 28 years old, with red hair and green eyes that had seen too much in her short career. She had been a junior officer during the Drovik campaign. She had watched worlds burn. Now she watched empty space and thought about what humanity had become. Captain, her communications officer reported, we're receiving a distress signal. Civilian transport. They're reporting pirates. Sarah leaned forward. Location? 30 light minutes away. Just outside our patrol zone. Set course. Maximum speed. The Guardian jumped into hyperspace. When they arrived, they found a small trading vessel surrounded by 3 pirate ships. The pirates were from a species called the Vorn. They were known for their cruelty. They took ships, stole cargo, and sold the crews as slaves. At least, they used to. Human warship detected. The pirate commander shouted, all ships retreat. Retreat immediately. The pirate vessels fled before the Guardian could even power up its weapons. They disappeared into hyperspace, leaving the trading ship unharmed. Sarah watched them go with mixed feelings. A year ago, pirates like the Vorn would have fought. They would have tested human resolve. They would have demanded tribute or challenged human authority. Now they ran. Everyone ran. The trading ship sent a message of thanks. They were from the Deshan Collective. Their captain, a female named Sarah, appeared on Sarah's screen. "We are grateful, Captain Bell," Sarah said. Her silver tears of relief floated in the low gravity of her bridge. The Vorn have been terrorizing this route for decades. No one could stop them. "They won't bother you again," Sarah said. "We'll patrol this area more frequently. You are too kind." Sarah paused. "I must admit, when we saw a human ship, we were nervous. Your reputation precedes you." Sarah nodded. She understood. Everyone was nervous around humans now. Even their friends. Even their allies. "We mean no harm to peaceful species," Sarah said. "We only want to protect our people and maintain order." "Of course." Sarah's voice was polite but careful. "We have heard what happened to the Drovik. The entire galaxy has heard." Sarah said nothing. What was there to say? "If I may ask," Sarah continued, "do you regret it? What your people did?" Sarah thought about the question for a long time. She remembered the reports from Kepler 442b, the dead colonists, the murdered children, the Drovik commander's smile. Then she remembered the fires on Drovik Prime, the cities turning to ash, the screams that lasted for weeks. "I regret that it was necessary," she finally said. "But I do not regret that we did it." Sarah nodded slowly. "I think I understand. In a way, you have given the galaxy something it never had before." "What's that?" "Fear of consequences." Sarah smiled sadly. For millennia, aggressive species could attack others with little fear. The Council would complain. Sanctions would be imposed. But nothing really changed. Now, everyone knows what happens if you push too far. Everyone knows what humans will do. She leaned closer to the screen. In the last year, there have been fewer attacks, fewer raids, fewer wars than any time in recorded history. Species that have fought for centuries are suddenly willing to negotiate. Pirates who terrorized entire sectors have disappeared. Her eyes met Sarah's. "You have created peace, Captain. Through terror, perhaps, but peace nonetheless." The Guardian returned to its patrol route. Sarah sat alone in her quarters, thinking about Sarah's words. Peace through terror. It was not the kind of peace humanity had hoped for, but it was peace. On Earth, life had returned to normal. People worked and played and loved and lived. The war was over. The threat was gone. Most humans tried not to think about what had been done in their name, but some remembered. The soldiers who had fought, the commanders who had given orders, the leaders who had made the choice. They carried the weight of 2 billion deaths on their souls. They would carry it forever. Ambassador Grace Miller had retired from public service. She lived in a small house by the ocean, far from the cities and the politics. She spent her days walking on the beach, listening to the waves, trying to find peace. She never did. High Counselor Varys requested one final meeting with her. Grace agreed. They met in her garden, surrounded by flowers from a dozen worlds. Varys had aged in the past year. His once bright light had dimmed. He looked tired. "I have been studying your people," he said, "trying to understand. Have you succeeded?" Grace asked. "Perhaps a little." Varys sat on a bench, his long body folding like paper. "I realized something important. Your species is unique in the galaxy." "How so?" "Every other species I know evolved as predators or prey. We reached the top of our food chains easily. We never faced true competition. True danger." He looked at Grace with ancient eyes. "But humans were different. You were prey that became predators. You learned to fear, then learned to make others fear you. Grace nodded. We call it survival instinct. When you've been hunted, you never forget the feeling. And you'll do anything to make sure you never feel it again. That is what I realized. Varys was quiet for a moment. Your people are not evil. You are not monsters. You are survivors. You do what is necessary to ensure your survival, no matter the cost. Is that better or worse than being evil? Grace asked. Varys did not answer. He did not know. The other species are terrified of you now, he said instead. Even your allies. They trade with you, work with you, even like you. But in the back of their minds, they remember what you did. What you could do again. Good, Grace said. Her voice was hard. Terrified species don't start wars. Is that really what you want? To be feared? Grace looked out at the ocean. The sun was setting, painting the water in shades of gold and red. I want my people to be safe, she said. I want human children to grow up without fear of alien attacks. I want our colonies to thrive without worrying about raiders. If fear is the price for that safety, then yes, I will pay it. And if someone attacks you again, Grace smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. Then we will respond the same way we responded to the Drovik. Complete, total, final. She turned to face Varys. We hope it never happens. We truly do. We would rather be friends with the galaxy than masters of it. But if anyone forces our hand again, they will learn the same lesson the Drovik learned, which is, humans don't fight wars. We end them. Varys left that day with a heavy heart. He understood now what the galaxy faced. Not an aggressive species seeking conquest. Not an evil empire seeking domination. Something worse. A species that would do absolutely anything to protect its own. A species that had no limits when survival was at stake. A species that looked at war not as a contest to be won, but as a problem to be eliminated. In the years that followed, the galaxy settled into a new order. Humanity expanded peacefully. They made friends. They shared technology. They helped other species grow and prosper. But no one forgot what they could do. Pirates avoided human space. Aggressive empires kept their distance. Potential enemies thought twice, then thought again. The threat of human response hung over every diplomatic negotiation, every border dispute, every trade agreement. Peace through terror. It was not perfect. It was not beautiful. But it worked. Captain Sarah Bell eventually became Admiral Bell. She commanded the human fleet for 30 years. Under her leadership, not a single human colony was attacked. Not a single human civilian died from alien aggression. She retired with honors and wrote a book about her experiences. In the final chapter, she shared what she had learned. We are not proud of what we did to the Drovik, she wrote. We are not happy about it. We carry the guilt of 2 billion deaths every day of our lives. But we would do it again if we had to. That is what makes us human. Other species fight for territory, for resources, for pride. We fight for survival. We fight for our children. We fight so that future generations never have to know the fear we knew. The galaxy calls us monsters. Perhaps we are. But we are monsters who love our families, protect our homes, and dream of a future where no child has to die because aliens thought we were weak. We are humanity. We will survive, no matter what it takes. The book became required reading at every military academy in human space. It was translated into dozens of alien languages. Some read it with horror. Some read it with understanding. Some read it with growing respect. All of them read it with fear. And that fear kept the peace. 100 years after the Drovik extermination, a young alien diplomat asked an old human veteran what the greatest lesson of that war was. The veteran smiled. His eyes filled with memories both terrible and proud. The lesson, he said, is simple. Never threaten what humans love. Never hurt what humans protect. And never, ever, mistake our kindness for weakness. He leaned back in his chair. Because when humans decide to stop being kind, the galaxy burns. The diplomat never forgot those words, neither did anyone else. And for generations to come, when species considered aggression against humanity, they remembered the Drovik. They remembered what happened to those who threatened human children. They remembered the price of human anger, and they chose peace instead. That was humanity's gift to the galaxy. Peace born from fire, safety bought with blood, a future protected by the most terrifying truth in the universe. Humans don't fight, they exterminate.